Hello everyone. Welcome back to my show. In fact, 29th show of Beyond the Cover with me, Andreia, on Dreamcatcher Radio. I just really want to thank everyone who have been participating on questions and observations and whatever and whatnot. And today we're going to continue what we have learned. I'm going to do some recap as well. And I'm going to also start to advertise on the radio about if those who want to participate to write a little Christmas poem for me to read on here Christmas Eve. We also be ready to read that. Before we start our show, I'm going to read 3 interesting questions that some lovely people left me for today. And let's just listen to them. So Rachel asks, have you ever inserted musical lyrics into your books? I am not a published author, but I write stories, most from music. Well, Rachel, I don't really like lyrics on my stories, personally, but I did once when I was writing fanfiction. So I did basic was, I just made the 2 characters I liked it at the time. One of them actually had a skin line about being a rock pop star. Yes, I think was it that? Yeah. So that cat already has a place in the alternate universe to be a rock pop star. While the other character I wrote with that character, not. So I just trying to imagine something new. So I imagined that the other character was a gothic character, which perfectly fine. I was just trying to experiment with my writing. And then, in the story, it has been the first chapter, the character that has already a skin line on a music alternate universe, he was listening, actually, let's see here in my story, was listening Nightwish, Nemo. So, yes, it was just only this time that I use a very specific music and lyrics, so it was mostly just to see how it was the story and whatnot, but usually not regular. In my original stories, I don't really use music. However, I don't mind using it if there is a context to the music that I am writing. Let's say, for example, in fantasy universe, it's very common for bards to play songs and to lift up or not, depends of the music as well, to the story. So I would say in these places I won't mind to write the music, or it could be a prayer. In fact, one of my books now, the first book, there is a part what is considered like a prayer. But of course, you're asking about lyrics, which is nothing to do with prayers, but prayers can also be as you can sing like a prayer as well. But yes, I just wrote it on a fanfiction. That's pretty much it. Of course, I identified and I give credit to the author. Of course, I did that. We always have to give credit. So yes, I'm going to thank you. Actually, you asked this question because even if somebody wants to put a lyric on their books, please always put the author of that song. If there is not an original song of you, please put it down. So then you put it, because you have to keep in mind you're going to have a copyright, it's going to be a trouble for you, so keep that in mind. Even if the author authorizes them. So just keep that in mind as well. And that's it pretty much, Rachel. So thank you so much for the question. Next is Abby that says, Evan asks even, do you ever write poems or read poems? If which is your favorite? Well, Abby, I am not a poem person, not because I don't think poetic people are talented. They are very talented. In fact, if you write a poem, you are very talented, because writing poems, it has its own challenges, it has its own specific things you have to do, and I'm going to touch that as well on the types of writing as well on my show. But for me personally, I don't read, not I write poems myself. I did once when I did just a small course of creative writing, but that's pretty much it. Nothing extraordinary happened. But usually I don't. You might actually probably ask this because I am probably advertising for the Christmas Eve, maybe. I don't know. It's just a thought that occurred to me right now. But no, I don't. However, I have read once a poem actually called Physical by Andrew McMillan. I think is how you pronounce his name. And this poem is very interesting because it's about LGBT queer and it's also is about of romance as well. So I think at the time I think I enjoying it. I think I don't really remember what it's about anymore because it's been quite years to be honest. And at the time I was looking for something. I have some queer representation as well, and I was just looking for books. So that was pretty much while I was in the time. I think I've enjoyed. I still have my bookshelf. But that's the only poem I have on my bookshelf. Abby, so this is the only things you can see. No, I'm not a poet. In fact, I think I actually have one book of another. Well, a writer that came from writing poems to writing novels. And even when he did the transition, there was no, there was not commas or semicolons or even paragraphs, or etc., etc. It was a very confusing book because of that, but I still found it interesting the story and whatnot. So, yes, Abby, I don't write or read poems usually, but I will this eve on Christmas, so that you know now. So, that is answer your question. And now, lastly, the Nelson asks, I love true crime. I find it very hard to research, or find it very hard to research. Do you have any suggestions? Oh well, Nelson, I don't read true crime, so I don't have suggestions for you. I'm so sorry. However, my recommendation, not recommendation, but like suggestion is, or if you like an advice, is for you to go to bookstores and ask for suggestions, basically. Or if you don't want to pay ahead, if you just want to see what is out there, you can go to your local library and ask for the and see for the true crime section, and they should know that, or they should have that. Or if they have mixed up with other books, because they can happen, because of mixed themes and that, just ask for advice for the librarian, and should give you an advice. That's pretty much what I can say, Nelson. Otherwise, I personally don't read crime books myself, so I cannot give advice. Which, if I will try to give, it will be it won't be. Or should I say this? It would not be nice to you. I think I'll be an injustice to you. And so with this, I want to thank you, Rachel, Happy, and Nelson for your lovely questions. Thank you so much for participating. And guys, keep up sending me your questions and also observations, because this keeps the show going, and it shows that you actually enjoying it as well. And nothing more than actually introduce now before we start to recap everything we have learned from the last week with a new Gothic band, which is called Ritual Halls with Final Service. So this is probably what an American Gothic American question mark, because not even right the YouTuber Black Friday, bless her, she didn't know as well if it was American or not. It was very confusing to her, and I couldn't understand why, because I tried to search as well and I couldn't find it. So let's say American, possibly Gothic band for me 2012. So that's, according to her, the sun is hinting but warm, tangling but darkly atmospheric. So guys, enjoy Ritual Halls Final Service. and that was Ritual House Final Service. I really hope you enjoyed the song and of dancing a little bit and sing along with the singer. So now let's just recap a little bit. We started to see what his distinct voice and tone. And we just saw that he has the narrative tone has to fit the genre. We also saw that the tone has to convey a clear attitude about the story and has to keep its consistency. So what that means is that the narrative that you're going to find of your genre has to match with your genre. Because if you're going to tell a story of detective, it has to have the detective vibe, or it has to convey that noir atmosphere. If you want to put a bit of noir as well in your right, has to have convey that. And this is why when we write our stories, it's very important to have a very, very clear voice in your head what it's about, because you're going to convey the story. And that same tone and voice has to be consistent to not confuse your reader. We also see the narrative voice has to engage without being a little too much for the entire novel, because both tone and voice align with the narrative point of view, and also the language and rhyme has to be deliberate. So it means each time you choose a specific tone of voice and also or tone and voice of your story has to be deliberate, to be with an intention. And we also start to see the author's tone. And also the author's tone is their attitude towards the story they are telling. And the author's voice is the style in which they communicate. So, for example, in my case, I choose to tell a story on my cosmic being perspective, being very lyrical, almost like he's reciting a poem, because for me as a creator, it matches his personality. So this is what you're going really throughout the book. We also see all this tone affect the story as well, because it does affect the story. Again, remember, has to match the tone, has to match the genre, has to convey a specific attitude, has to make sense and be consistent. So, of course, has to affect the story. Because the author's tone is an element of prose that engages the reader and makes them feel like the tale is being shared rather than dictated. Because, yes, once you are writing a story, you have to make it your reader engaging with the story. Once they are hooked with the story and reading it, they're going to understand the tone has a purpose in the story. You don't need to tell them. They're going to affect understand that. And then we also saw that the tone affirms the genre, because it has to affirm. And the form means it has to, again, match with the genre of your story. And now let's see how we can mix tone and voice. So, who is talking? So, the first thing you have to do is to clarify the narrative point of view of your story. Maybe you are going with a first-person account from a character in your story. Or maybe your storyteller is a third person narrator representing your literally alter ego. It doesn't matter if your narrator has no name, identity, or social security number. They need a voice. So as you can see from this example, whatever you are writing, the voice is going to be always important for your readers to understand who the character really is. And the second thing you have to keep in mind, one missing tone of voice is what do they sound like in your head? Because how does your narrator speak, you might ask yourself? Short, matter-of-fact sentences, long lyrical paragraphs. So you go, this is my character for my first book. Long lyrical paragraph, it makes sense, it speaks this way. Do they use colloquialisms or keep things formal? Whatever the answer is, that's their voice. Because it's your choice as a creator. You decided that your character, maybe, let's say, I don't know, they are a wizard. Perhaps their voice is a very studious one. Perhaps their voice is an exciting one if they're very young and they're just learning about magic, right? So you have to have the type of voice that matches them, who they are, for the reader to understand without you specifically saying, look, this is a wizard very excited about learning magic. You don't need to do this, just conveying their voice. And that's everything you need to do, because how they're going to sound like is going to convey excitement, thrilling, experimental, maybe, whatever it is. And lastly, what do they think about the story they are telling? It's a very interesting fact as well. So, would your narrator call this a tragic tale or a predicament comedy of human ignorance? Are they charmed and wanting to share the delight with the reader? Whatever the answer is, that's your tone. That's not to say that you open your book with a line like, let me tell you about some high offensive things that happen. I am indignant. I mean, you could do that. If, in fact, because keep in mind, you could do that because remember, you are the creator. But be more creative about that. Remember to be subtle. Remember the thing to be, not to be too direct sometimes. Also, it probably depends on your character personality as well, because they always overmatch. Because tone is typically communicated in more subtle ways. Let's see now which ways are. Like I said, remember to be subtle. The way you write your characters, the subtlety, the thing, or could not be subtle. Again, I'm going to say again, depends to be subtle or not depends on your character's personality. But to keep things interesting, just write the things just a little bit on the mysterious side, the secrecy, etc. So let's see, which are the typically communicated subtle ways to do this? So it is the pacing. An anxious tone may call for short, clipped sentences. A formal tone may be more inclined to take its glorious time. There you have it. Pacing is important. Description. Is the sky brushed with a pastel stroke, sort of a sunset? Or is it there an angry orange line screaming across the horizon? Word choice is also important because remember, word choice is going to tell if your reader may be a very studious person, for example, or a farmer or whatever, or someone who doesn't really read. This also can convey that. So word choice. It is an open road or an abandoned road, a partner or a lover. This could also be things to take notice. And finally, specificity. Details do wonder. She sat on the porch, sipping a drink. This seems sell too much? Not really. How about it now? She sat on the veranda, enjoying the vanilla notes of a Malbec. Or, for example, she sat on the porch steps, sucking the last of Capri Sun throughout the chilled size straw. These two are similar sentences, but very different tones. So as you can see with this, is everything you need to know thus far. There is another thing, in fact, a lot of things you can explore. But before that, let's see our first metal song for this week. And the group is called Unleashed. And the song is Hold Your Hammers High. This is a Swedish death metal band formed in 1988. It's already very old, but they're still kicking ass. I'm sorry, this is something true, but yeah, they are still running. I'm very sorry, my dear manager. I'm so sorry. But they are still out there. So common lyrical themes found in the band's music specifically include Viking culture, recollecting of a pre-Christian world, and the Norse folklore. In this case, I believe it's a Norse folklore they're going to inspire the music from. And a number of the recent songs in their albums also contain references to J.R.R. Tolkien. So guys, let's go back to these death metal bands and let's listen. Unleashed, Hold Your Hammers High.
Fire
And that was Unleash All Your Hammers High. I hope you guys enjoy the music and also the song. So now we should start to see how to mix tone and voice. And we just saw that we need to understand to make this work who's talking, which means clarifying the narrative point of view of your story. So you can just explore that whatever you like. And then what they do sound like, which means this also depends who your characters are and how they sound. You have to keep that in mind as well. And what do they think about the stories they are telling? So this probably I was connected with it, if you think about it, with their personality. Because they might actually think that this all story is a tragedy, or it's some kind of, something is going to happen, who knows? And we start to see that for this to communicate a little bit better, is go with the pacing, description, word choice, and specificity. So with all these elements, you can create how do you think about it and the story they are telling, and also the other aspects, of course, how to mix the tone and voice. Another thing to remember is tone doesn't change. No. I know this sounds a little bit different from what I've said between voice and tone, with all the changes, and that's actually true. So think of the stories you tell when you get together with your friends. You sound like you yourself, no matter what you're talking about. But your tone probably changes depending on whatever you are receiving, a wild story from your high school days, or discussing a heartbreak. Also, it probably depends on your friends as well, right? So you're talking about a lost relationship. Your tone might be devastating. Even if the story includes anecdotes from a happier time, those anecdotes do not stand alone for you. They are part of this tale of devastation. That affects the way you recount them. In your novel, your narrator is sitting down with the reader to tell the one story. Within that story, there might be moments that are romantic, scary, suspenseful, whatever might be the case. But your narrator is always looking at the big picture. They see each of those moments as part of a larger whole. Their attitude towards the world is the author's tone, and it should remain consistent from the beginning to end. So what this means is mostly the tone doesn't change. It's mostly like how they see the world, and how the tone keeps consistent. So, for example, what is consistent, you might ask? Who's talking? How do they sound like? We can see here, depending of the thing, how the story goes, but they have to remain the same. So, if you're gonna have a character that doesn't, let's say, swear, you're not gonna make him swear all of a sudden. It's not gonna make much sense. So, keep that consistency. That's what this says here, is to keep that thing consistent. And now, with all this I have said, how to mix tone and voice, what the tone is, etc., you might actually ask, but how do I practice this? Because yes, everything we do as writers has to have a practice. Because tone is a slippery concept compared to character development and story structure. Many of us learn tone best by practicing it. But there are also a few exercises you can do just to give it a try, experiment as well. So, write your favorite scene. So what this means is that a scene you've been excited to write from the moment you first imagined on your story? Skip ahead to it. Fully indulge in whatever excites you about this scene. Then, read over it and notice if there's a clear tone. If there is, try applying that same tone to a different scene. One you are less passionate about. What changes? You can do this just something to see how it goes. To see if there's anything, if something excites you about the discovery. Another exercise you can do is write as if you were there. Right? As a reader, remember when I told sometimes, I think we talked about the perspectives, and I told you that the first perspective, for me personally, it feels like the character is by my side telling the story. This is like that exercise, if you think about it. Tell the same story using different tones. Any story. Maybe something that happened to you today. How would you write about that Zoom meeting in your favorite tours if it wasn't easy, reverent, mocking, amused? So yes, just write it down. As if you personally were there assisting with the character. As if the character was at your side telling how it all went. This is one thing you can do as well. Another thing is, write again from another character's point of view. Now what this means is, return to a scene you have already written and write it through the eyes of a different character. What would their attitude be towards this particular moment? How can you reflect that tone in your writing? Or, if you are still penning your novel, you can try step 5. You can step the 5 of the snowflake, which is a method that we discussed really now months ago. It is one of the methods how to structure a story, which is the snowflake. You can stop to this. So this step, just a reminder as well, this step involves writing a 1-page story synopsis from the perspective of each main and secondary characters. For example, you can write this writing a character in a campfire. So as you can see, you can also write from a different character perspective. It also helps you to understand tone and voice. And in a campfire, if you have a lot of characters, each are going a different voices, they're going to speak differently. And this is what you should keep in mind during this exercise. And for us to go to other exercises, let's go, pause here for a moment, and let's see our second Gothic band, which is called Double Echo. Sylvia. I discovered this on the internet. It's a very interesting one because they began in 2012 as a studio collaboration between producers Chris Luna in San Diego, California, and Hash Larkscastle, Liverpool, UK. They aim to remystify the forgotten practices of post-punk and primitive electronic soundtracks. So guys, enjoy Double Echo, Sylvia. And that was Double Echo Sylvia. I really hope you guys enjoy the song, the dancing, and also just enjoying the blood and etc. So now we should start to see how to practice tone. And there are some exercises that we just really touch on this, which is write your favorite scene. So if you have your scene, you think that you like, just like to skip on it, just skip everything and just try it out and see how it goes. Write as if you were there. So remember that write as if you're aside of the main character, and the main character is just talking about whatever is happening, and you're just there listening. And we also saw that one other method you can use is the snowflake method, which involves writing a one-page story synopsis from the perspective of each main and secondary character. It could be an example. You're interacting in a campfire. So the other way you can also do is write an email to a friend. So having trouble conceptualizing a tone, forget for a moment that you are working on your craft. Think of a story you love to tell and write an email to a specific friend, someone with whom you are 100% yourself. Send it or don't. It's up to you. But definitely read it over several times. How is your attitude towards the story reflecting your world joy, spacing details, etc.? Well, this is sending out a friend. I'll just say, just imagine it, yeah? Because you don't want to tell all of a sudden your friends, hey, this is a message for me, and they say, why are you writing me this? So keep that in mind, yeah? Just, whatever send it or not, I will just suggest, think it twice. Or if you want to do this, tell your friends ahead so they know what you're going to do, yeah? You just don't want to put your friends in a very comical or very embarrassing situation, yeah? And the last thing you can do as an exercise is explore the contradictions. So what this means is to help you find consistency in your tone while still allowing the story to take emotional twists and turns. Choose one tone from the left hand, comment below, and write different scenes from the right hand, column, and in that one tone. Who knows? If you write with contradictions, emotional stakes, who knows what's going to happen? You are the writer, so take it your time. See how it goes. And for distinct voice and tone, that's pretty much it, guys. And girls. There's not much to tell. So, just to tell again, just remember that has to be consistent, has to be deliberate, it has to convey a voice for your character. This is the way you are going to tell the story throughout the book. If you want to create different types of voice, that's fine, but it has to be the reader has to know who they belong to. Because if you write in a way that is confusing, again, your reader is going to feel confused. They may want to see it's the same character for them. On the next week, we're going to touch something that is really, really interesting, which is vivid descriptions. And we are going to touch on show, don't tell. And that's what we're going to do for the next week only. Because now I'm going to introduce a very interesting name for a metal band, especially American, which is called Oakley Dokley. Yes, that's right, you did right. Oakley Dokley is the name. And the song is called White Wine Spitzer. It's an American metalcore band from in 2015, but stopped being active in 2022. The lyrics are the same. They're not changed. It's simply this. You only live once. Ah, hell. Give me a white wine spitzer. That's it. So, guys, enjoy. Oakley Donkey, White Wine Spitzer. And that was Oakley Dokley, White Wine Spitzer. I really hope you guys at least have found it finding the band's title and also enjoy the funny of the song as well. So now, yes, this is going to be the part when I'm not going to pretty much talk about our show about writing because it's just my show is almost to an end. So what I'm going to do is just introducing our third last gothic band for this week, which is called Ghost Cop, and the song is called Trouble. So this is an American gothic band formed in 2013. And according to our website, they blend elements of dark wave, post-punk, synth-pop, and horror soundtracks. Ghost Cop has built an underground following around the world. The music ranges from dystopian dance floor hitters to cinematic anthems and vocoder lullabies, pairing punishing beats, haunting melodies, and lyrical storytelling. So guys, enjoy Ghost Cop Trouble. And it was Ghost Cop Trouble. Hope you guys enjoyed the song and also have danced as well while you were listening to it. And for the last, the last song I made for the last week, honestly. In these minutes that is left for me to finish my this episode, the 20th episode. So I'll just remind everyone that if you want to participate on my Christmas poem for the Christmas Eve, all you have to do is to write a poem with your name or with a pseudonym if you like. If you don't want to be identified, it's completely fine, because I completely understand it's terrifying to put yourself out there and people know you. I completely understand. So write it down, the Christmas Eve, for me to read on Christmas Eve. While then, keep your hands busy, your imagination going wild, and just send to Dreamcatcher Radio email, and then I will put it aside and reading it on Christmas Eve. However, there's one rule that you must, and I'm gonna say must follow. No AI is allowed, and I mean it when I say this. Because if you're going to write a Christmas poem, it has to come from your head, from your imagination. You want to have inspiration, listen to a song, go watch something or something else, but no AI has to be involved. No AI. You are more powerful than you imagine. You're more imaginative than you imagine. You can do this. Remember, you can do this. Or if you think you cannot write a poem, that's totally fine. You can set the name of the poem and the part of the poem you want me to read. That's completely fine as well. Because remember that I'm just doing this. I'm doing stuff like this for the first time. So it's going to be 2 hours long. I'm not used to do 2 hours as a show. So it's going to be my first thing to do this stuff as well. So remember, I'm going to say it again. You can write a Christmas poem by yourself with your name or a pseudonym. Don't use AI for that. You're not allowed to do that, at least in my show, for me personally, in my show. Or if you don't want to write a Christmas poem, you can definitely recommend me to read a poem from a writer, something Christmas-like. Because probably it's not going to be very Christmas. I know it's going to be difficult, but at least has that atmosphere of the Christmas and etc. Please do that as well. Let me know how you guys will like, because I just want to mark this while I'm also working on an episodic show for Dreamcatcher Radio, because I want to make a pause as well. Also talking about writing, and I'm going to just write something and see how it goes, because I don't really know how this is going, but it's part of the fun. Because I don't know, it's a mystery. So, just to remind you, just keep up on Dreamcatcher Radio listening to it. From the 2 to 4, you've got Kim and Carl creating a Rip of Transformation, which is a beautiful show about mental health, and also they are professionals. They have their own stories they always bring to the show, and I think this is a very interesting thing to do. It keeping us updated as well with everything that's happening, and what we can do to ourselves. And to do stuff if you think about it for free, so it's even more actually and amazing. So thank you so much, Kim and Carl, for that. And also remember, 4 to 6, I think, yes, we have Lisa King and Apologetically You, another interesting show as well, which is basically saying you just be yourself. Don't try to please everybody, because it's going to be impossible. And for people that are actually trying to mask, which is, again, it's really just not worth it. But I completely understand why people have to do, especially on the spectrum. Yes, definitely. But it's just really encouraging us to be ourselves, to just not trying to